and violence. Well, let's talk to Dr. Klaus Richter, who's a senior lecturer in Eastern European history at the University of Birmingham. Thanks so much for being here with us. What is your assessment of what you're seeing?
Well, what we see is, in a sense, one of the last countries in Eastern Europe to, in a sense, de-Sovietize after the end of the Cold War. And it's, in a sense, not surprising that Belarus, that this is happening right now in Belarus, much later than in many other countries. But you could also say before some other states of the post-Soviet space.
And why do you think it's happening now? Because economically, in terms of political stability, it is rather different to perhaps some other of those countries surrounding Russia.
Yes, exactly. So Belarus was, after 1991, actually economically a rather successful state. We haven't had the same kinds of economic troubles that we've seen in Georgia, Armenia, Ukraine, or Kyrgyzstan, where we've had similar democratic uprisings. In Belarus, things have actually been quite calm until the financial crisis of 2009, and especially in 2011, when it had a real impact, a very, very serious impact on Belarus. And that has actually very much eroded Lukashenko's popularity, who has before that always been very popular and would have probably won the elections even without electoral fraud.
What about the answer to that fundamental question? We saw it in Ukraine, for example, in terms of where the country is actually heading. Is it closer to Europe or closer to Russia? But where do you think Belarus is?
This is actually very difficult to say, and this is very much at the core of the whole problem. Lukashenko had for a long time pursued a closer union with Russia, and Russia vice versa. But those talks have stalled for quite some time for several reasons. At the same time, it was very difficult to find some kind of rapprochement with the European Union, because that would have required some democratic reform in Belarus. And this has actually caused Lukashenko quite a lot of troubles, because Belarusians really couldn't see anymore where the country was heading. And this is also this is one of the questions that Lukashenko can't answer anymore. If you compare that, for instance, to Ukraine in 2014, Ukraine had experienced a rapprochement with the European Union for over a decade by then. That is something that Belarusians haven't been able to experience so far.
Dr. Klaus Richter, we have to leave it there, but thanks so much for your analysis, your take on what's going on the ground as we speak in Belarus.